Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the Clemson Tiger pregame show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. I'm your host, Tiger Paul Craven. Thank you again for joining me. And it is rivalry week. Hey, this is a season of its own for Clemson. This is the game of games. We have to win this game. Nothing in the season matters on this particular Saturday other than beating the Gamecocks. And we will get into all of that with myself and the panel that I have for you guys tonight. Again, people getting in the chat already. Thank you guys for joining me. Hunter Gofro, as always, a usual in the chat. John Sarian getting in. My wife Courtney getting in. Thanks everybody for getting in. Make sure you get your comments in the comment section throughout the show. We will react as we go along in the show, as we have our discussions as panels and all that kind of stuff. But before I bring on my panel, a few things to get out of the way. If you have not subscribed to the channel already, please do so. On the road to 4,000 subscribers, and we're getting close. I think we're like 40 away at this point. Trying to get there before we wrap up this college football season. So if you could help us out with that, that would be great. We also have the Super Chat feature that you can use throughout the show. And then if you want to support the show any other way, links are in the descriptions on how you can join and support the Voice of College Football Clemson channel and some of the other channels we have as well. So with all of that out of the way, let me bring on my panel. Tonight we have Jordan Bowman for you guys, and we have DeAndre. Gentlemen,
what's up?
Thank you for joining me.
How y'all doing?
Happy late Thanksgiving to both of you. I hope you guys had some great times.
Yeah, I did. I'm sitting in my dad's man cave right now. I got the TV on in front of me watching this Florida State game.
Might be 100 points
wild
tonight.
Absolutely.
You see that play
Awesome.
by Jordan Travis?
Oh, that was which one? Is the one where he stayed up, or the one where he stayed up and got into the end zone, or the one where he broke like 10 tackles? Like
That's the same play, ain't it?
No, it was two different plays. It was the one where he was on the left sideline and like managed to stay. It was that long run. He managed to stay up. Like he kind of wobbled down the sideline and got into the end zone, and then the one where he escaped a bunch of like a huge sack. They got immediate pressure, and then he evades like three different Florida defenders and runs it down to the 1 yard line. Yeah,
that's the one that I saw.
Yeah, he's made some incredible plays this game.
Yeah, Jordan Travis balling out, man, balling out indeed. I hope Florida State ends up pulling it out. One, because I'm sick of always hearing about the SEC and how vaunted they are, and how clearly no ACC team could ever hold a candle to any team in that conference. So we'll see what the Florida man has to say about that tonight. Travis starting to look like Lamar, John Sarian says.
He's made some Lamar-esque plays.
Yeah. I wouldn't call him Lamar quite yet, but yeah, he is. That's part of the reason that Florida State, kind of put up the yardage they put up against us, right, was Jordan Travis and the way that he kind of ran the ball against the Clemson defense. So he's definitely got that ability to really hurt a defense with his legs. But he can also throw the ball too. So
yeah, I know. That's kind of what I wanted to say, is that like just his progression from. I mean, I remember him when he was playing a few years ago. I mean, everyone, if you know his story, he was originally at Louisville, back up there, and decides to transfer to Florida State. And he played some, but he was in and out as the starter in 2020, and then he was the starter in 2021, and then they brought in Mackenzie Milton, and so like he had to fight his way to be a starter. And this is the first year he came into the year being the undisputed guy, and just his development. I mean, he was always seen as a really athletic guy, but very limited as a passer. But I don't really think you can say that anymore. I think he's developed very much as a passer. It's been incredible to see. I'm glad he didn't put up this kind of performance against Clemson, because we might be talking about a 2-loss Clemson instead of a 1. So
Hey, no. Let's not get carried away, okay?
he's
And
good, man.
remember, also all the points came late in the game too.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about but I'm just saying, like, if he had played like that, if he had played like how he's playing now, against Clemson, it might have been a different game. So, but that's also a testament to Clemson's defense. They're definitely not Florida's defense.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm about to say Florida has given up a lot of points this year, outside of to our opponents this coming up Saturday. South Carolina. I think they only gave South Carolina 6 points, but we see Vandy scoring.
And the defense
31.
was the one they gave up. So it was, South Carolina's special teams was responsible for 6 points, really. South Carolina's defense and special teams was responsible for the 6 points. But Florida's defense really, shut South Carolina down. But we'll talk more about that.
All right. Yeah, a few more people in the chat. Bleach Orange. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. Edward gets in as well. So again, thank everybody for being here. Jordan, how was your Thanksgiving, man? You eat a bunch of food? You just hung out with family? What'd you do?
It was awesome because I got to spend time with two. I got to spend time with two sides of the family, so I got double the Thanksgiving.
Hey, there you go. That's good, man.
So my mom had a home cook. It had her whole Thanksgiving at her house, and then I went out, and then I got to visit my dad as well, and so they had Thanksgiving. So I basically got 2 Thanksgiving dinners, and so I'm probably going to take the leftovers from both too. But don't
look at Jordan out here living large.
I'm cheating. But no, it was great spending time with family. Got to see my brother. He started. He's a freshman in college, and he's been ripping and running. So it was good to see him.
Where's he going?
He goes to Western Carolina. So he's awesome. His major is emergency and disaster management or something like that. So and he works for the fire department up there in Cullowhee. So
awesome, man.
Good
That's
to see
the
him.
only place in North Carolina where you don't have to take your winter clothes home in the summertime.
Right. That's true. So it was good to see him, and just see all of my friends and family. It was cool. So
awesome. That's good, man. DeAndre, how was your Thanksgiving, man?
I just worked. I'm about to go in about an hour or so.
That's DeAndre, always working. Man. Always working.
Yeah, well, you got all the kids, man. You got to, especially Christmas.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, take some time and enjoy yourself.
Oh my gosh, Clemson give an hour a game of basketball.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep up with it.
Is that true? Clemson can't play basketball.
It's 68 to 65, I think, right now.
How about the other thing that South Carolina Gamecocks could say they got over is that they've been to a Final Four and we ain't never have, and that they got a Heisman Trophy winner. That's about the only 2 things they can ever say over us.
Yeah. Well, they also have a College World Series, and we don't.
Yeah. I thought we never won a World Series. I thought we did.
We've been to multiple. We've been to multiple. We've never won it.
Who cares about baseball? They don't make no money.
I care about baseball. Clemson baseball. Clemson baseball is a part of the history. Yeah, that's one of our prized programs. But I think the stat is that like Clemson and Florida State have the most College World Series appearances without winning it. So that's not a great stat to be a part of. But Clemson baseball has definitely been a powerhouse, and hopefully Eric Bakich, the new head coach we got from Michigan, hopefully he can turn it around. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So happy Thanksgiving. Happy late Thanksgiving into all the people in the chat as well. I had a great one, man. Down here with family, still down here, broadcasting from my little sister's room right now. Pretty awesome. So, but yeah, good times, man. Got to spend time with family. Ate a lot of food. It's always a good time of year. Hopefully tomorrow is another great day. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the game a little bit. Clemson versus South Carolina. This is I think the 119th meeting of these two programs. It was one of the longest rivalries in the country prior to COVID, when South Carolina scapegoated out of a game against Clemson so they wouldn't lose again. I understand. It's okay, South Carolina. You can be scared.
Well,
of
the SEC in general scapegoated out of playing the
Yeah, I
ACC,
know
playing
they
out
did.
of conference games. But
Yeah, I know they did. But I'm still going to blame South Carolina. They should have made it happen.
Yeah.
We're colleges from the same state, not too far away from each other either. I think we could have figured out how to play a football game.
Right.
But it is what
With
it
the
is.
same
Clemson
rules.
comes in. What's that?
With the same rules, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
with the same rules, like literally a state with the same rules. So I don't see a problem there. Maybe you could have said there might have been a problem with some rivalries that maybe are in the same state, if those are out there. But regardless, Clemson comes in sporting a 7-game winning streak in the rivalry, which is tied for the longest winning streak, also held by Clemson in the rivalry. We look to stretch it to 8 games this Saturday. That would be the longest winning streak by either school in the rivalry. And we've absolutely dominated this this rivalry. If you want to call it a rivalry, I know DeAndre doesn't like to call it a rivalry because he thinks we dominate it, which we do. Little brother from Columbia can't quite get it done most of the time. The last 4 meetings, we are combined 286 to 104 against South Carolina. So that's good for an average of 41 to 15 in each of those 7 games. 30 to nothing in the most recent game last year, which was probably Clemson's worst team in probably a decade. Most would say, most would agree. All right. So DeAndre, before we get into the game, before we talk about the offense, the defense, special teams, the now greatest quarterback in college football, which is Spencer Rattler, apparently. Before we get into all that, do you, sir, have a history lesson for us?
Nah, one of South Carolina's best teams in 1980, Johnny Rogers, running back, won the Heisman Trophy. Clemson upset them. I think they played at South Carolina. If I don't know that, but they played at Clemson, and Clemson upset them. I really have no memories of this game because it's always been a squash. I mean, I think they had 1 year with Hamilton. I think Hamilton was at receiver, and I think Simmons was at quarterback, and they had to throw a deep ball to beat Florida State. Beat South Carolina 27-20. I mean, South Carolina as a football program has been a joke. I mean, they haven't won a championship since 1969, and that was like a 3-way tie in the ACC.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a lot of respect for South Carolina football. I mean, women's basketball is great. Jordan just told me
it's only because they play in the SEC, okay? It's a tough schedule. It's only because they play in the SEC. They play in the ACC, they be winning the conference every year like us,
Yeah, that's what they tell us. I mean, that's Carolina Jackpot going back to being a South Carolina
he
fan.
didn't even make it through the Tennessee game. He was already back to being a fan before the Tennessee game was over. That was a short-lived reprieve from being a Carolina fan.
Yeah,
which I'm sure we all predicted. He would like everybody to think that he saw the changes that he wanted, and his quote unquote demands were met. So He's back being a Carolina fan, and that's one of the things we'll get into. All these Carolina fans running around right now, acting like somebody else was calling the plays in the Tennessee game, other than their offensive coordinator Satterfield. Who was calling the plays? Please tell me.
It was Satterfield.
Who magically walked in and started calling plays for Carolina? Like, would they fly in a guest offensive coordinator game time? Like, what happened? I don't understand.
I mean, I listened to multiple Gamecock insiders. They all said, it was Satterfield calling the plays.
Of course it was.
Yeah,
I've heard people say anything from he wasn't calling the plays, somebody else was, to they've already fired him. They're just keeping him on until the end of the season. Why, if you fired somebody, why in the world would they be there till the end of the season? Since when does that ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? They'll bring up the 5-game winning streak, but I'm like, I mean, yeah, you did it, but I mean, I really
That's their
don't
claim to
consider this a
fame.
rivalry. Yeah, that's about the only thing they ever
It's
did. And I'm one of those type of people, and I know some people might disagree with what I'm about to say. If you look at recruiting, and even before Clemson's latest run, Clemson's best players always came out of Georgia and North Carolina. You know, I know people might say Michael Dean Perry or Andre Hopkins, but Clemson's best players always came out of Carolina, Georgia, the Florida area. South Carolina really dominates recruiting in South Carolina. I mean, I
Yeah.
we really don't
They
recruit
get
the
some of
same
their
area.
guys, but I don't know. I wouldn't say they dominate. I mean, if Clemson wants somebody in the state, they gotta work to get them.
Yeah, but well, I'm talking about in-state recruiting. South
Yeah, that's what I'm
Carolina.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
don't. South Carolina doesn't just get whoever they want in state.
yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
saw what happened with Antonio Williams. Like South Carolina was on him like before anybody, and all Clemson had to do was
yeah.
offer. And
All they had
Yeah,
to
so,
do
I
was
mean,
offer him in the
I mean,
12th
if you
hour, and
look
he
at
was
that
like, "Yeah, I'm
30
going
to
to Clemson."
0 and you see what happened on their offense, would you change your mind too? I mean,
yeah,
yeah, Belk was a big battle. Feaster before he, stayed that close to the transfer. I think that was a big battle. I mean, we had the battles over in-state
oh yeah,
players, but like I said, if you go look at it, closest best player, Terry Tuttle's from Winston-Salem,
Yep.
North Carolina. Jeff Davis is from North Carolina. So, I mean, you look at some of the more historical players, they're really from outside of the state. So, that's all I'm saying.
that's true.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
Georgia. I mean, yeah, Clemson is
Yeah.
always when
Always in Georgia.
yeah, Clemson is never good if they're not recruiting the state of Georgia well. And so,
Yeah.
that's every time, any point in Clemson's history, if they're winning games, they've got some dudes from Georgia.
And then last thing I will say about this is like what makes me upset about the SEC teams. South Carolina makes more money than Clemson because their TV day, and everybody thinks just because you're making all this money that your program is going to be great. That's not necessarily true. Look at Ole Miss, South Carolina. Their programs are not as good as you think they should be, but then they'll say, "Oh, because we play the SEC." But you have more money than Clemson does, and what have you done when they doing the SEC in 1992, somewhere around there?
Yep.
And what have you done? I think you ought to be the one conference championship game in that time period. And Duke has done the same thing in the ACC. So what does that say about you? I mean, so has Wake Forest has been the 2 and 1.
They won one.
So yeah, so I mean, and those schools had a population or the money that you got. So you say you come to what's call it, but I see Carolina, NC State beat South Carolina over the last 10 years, and you have trouble with Clemson all the time. So this is a joke of a program. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Hey, SEC, it just means more.
It just means
Yeah. Nah, I can't stand it.
Yeah. We know.
Yeah.
We all can. That's a part of being a Clemson fan. You cannot root for nor like the Gamecocks ever. I don't care what the circumstances are. I know there were people rooting for South South Carolina when Tennessee was playing them. I was not.
I was good. I like strategic
I
rooting.
could
There's been
not.
times I had to
I
root for the
can't do it.
Browns back in the day.
I can't do it.
I had to root for the Browns and the Ravens a few times in my day. So
As good as it was for Tennessee to lose for, I guess, Clemson's mythical playoff hopes, I can't bring myself to do it. Bible Belt Beauties gets in. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Rivalry week. It is. This is one of the best weekends all year, right? You got Clemson, South Carolina. You got Alabama, Auburn. You got Michigan, Ohio State. You got Florida, Florida State. There's so many good rivalry games this weekend. Regardless of what anyone in college football says, regardless of how bad your season is or how good your season is, this game is cared about like no other game, maybe outside of, championship games, right? But this game, it's just got a special place for every fan base, right? That's a part of one of these type of rivalries that really, kind of in our situation divides a state and things like that. What are you guys' thoughts? So Clemson's coming off of, a good win, right? A pretty dominant win from the defensive standpoint against Miami, albeit Miami. I get it. But a dominant win, right? We absolutely played 4 quarters of kind of the best defense we possibly could. We gave up 98 total yards. I repeat, 98 total yards. I don't care who you're playing. You can say, there's bad teams in the ACC and Miami's terrible and they're falling apart and Mario Cristobal's losing, part of the players and they haven't bought in and, he's going to turn it over in the transfer portal. And all of that may be correct. That's great. But no matter who you're playing, if you only give up 98 yards, that's a great day of defense. There's no way around it. That's just how it is. So a great defensive performance, a pretty good offensive performance, I would say, for the most part, outside of the third quarter, right? We had those 3 consecutive turnovers that really we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot, couldn't quite get going, but we did get out of the funk with the defense's help of just continuing to drown Miami in pressure and make their quarterback look like the freshman that he was, starting in a high-pressure, very loud environment. So Clemson's feeling pretty good coming into the game. So is South Carolina. South Carolina's coming into the game after the drubbing that they put on Tennessee on national television. Nobody saw it coming, including South Carolina fans. I don't care how much they some of the crazy ones. There's the crazy ones in every fan base that'll pretend like they saw that coming, but no one did. I certainly didn't. Tennessee fans didn't see it coming. No one really that follows college football saw it coming, but they dominated Tennessee. Tennessee could not stop them. Could not stop the South Carolina offense at all. Spencer Rattler had all day to sit back there and kind of scan the field, and they ran those crossing routes, and he picked his favorite target for that particular play, and there was a lot of run after catch, right? A lot of poor tackling from Tennessee, a lot of uninspired play. I know that number 5 for Tennessee.
He was talking.
That dude was talking the whole game, and he just kept getting burned. He would get burned and then keep talking, and then get burned again and then keep talking. So it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, that dude, I don't know, man. Shout out to him. He never lost confidence, I don't think. He kept talking. He was going to play dirty. He was going to trash talk. He was going to try to provoke as much as he possibly could. Maybe that was his last hope to, hey, I just keep getting burned. Maybe I can irritate one of these dudes enough to make them do something to get kicked out. I don't know. But it was a bad game, right? So South Carolina comes in probably as high as they could be coming in. So what are your guys' thoughts with that? That's the kind of lead up into this game. Everybody's been talking about the South Carolina offense. Everybody's been talking about Spencer Rattler's 6 touchdowns. I think he's got 14 on the season. So those 6 touchdowns against Tennessee really helped him with his touchdown to interception ratio that wasn't looking so good prior to that Tennessee game. Nobody thought that he was, everybody thought he was a bust at South Carolina. He didn't work out. We can't wait to move on. And then he plays Tennessee, throws 6 touchdowns, and, hashtag Spencer Rattler for Heisman. Let's go. He is now South Carolina's quarterback. They've loved him all season. They knew it was just a matter of time before they would see this. So that's kind of the lead up into the game, fellas. What's your guys' just general initial thoughts coming into this game tomorrow?
Pass rush is going to be better than Tennessee's was. That's where it's going to start at. Like I said, Florida, we're seeing it right now. They only scored 6 points against this Florida's offense. This year's been so hectic. I hate to take it off Sunday, but let's look at what Nebraska just did to Iowa. It's like Iowa supposed to have this great defense, and then all of a sudden Nebraska ain't did jack all year and go off. Sometimes, you get miracles like that. Look at Clemson and Notre Dame. The weather caused a big part of that. And just Tennessee ran through a buzzsaw that day. They got hot for some reason and lost to South Carolina at home because they couldn't get a pass rush on a guy who haven't done anything. Yeah, I mean, but then a couple weeks ago, he only scored 6 points against Florida. So go figure.
South Carolina was rolling, man. Jordan, initial thoughts. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously South Carolina is coming off of easily their best game of the season. And the way I look at it, I'm kind of the camp that if someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. And so I think what South Carolina has been over the course of the entire season is more representative of what they are than what they were last week against Tennessee. And I mean, it was a great game. There was nothing fluky about it. Just don't get me wrong. I'm not saying South Carolina because South Carolina just scored. They just out executed Tennessee in every aspect. It wasn't like they benefited from a bunch of turnovers or Tennessee made a bunch of special teams mistakes. No, South Carolina just went up and down the field on them.
Tennessee just got beat.
They punted South Carolina punted one time. I believe it was their first drive of the second half. But other than that,
it was 5. It was 5 for 5 in the first half. 5 drives, 5 touchdowns. They punted. Yeah, you're right. The first drive in the second half, and then they never punted again.
Yep.
So
I mean, there's nothing fluky about that. You were just the better team that day.
That's called a dominant win.
Right. So, but I do believe that South Carolina over the course of the season has been a wildly erratic offense, capable of just going on, long periods without scoring, without a lot of cohesion, a lot of confusion. I just, going and watching a lot of their games, it just looked like there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of cohesiveness. There wasn't like a lot of, guys being on the same page. And, the South Carolina coaching staff has come out and said they simplified a lot of stuff going into the Tennessee game. That was their most simple game plan of the entire year. And so they finally put their players in good positions to succeed. They put Spencer Rattler in a situation where he wouldn't have to think so much and he could just go play. And so, that's a credit to them as well. But I don't think
the 2 games to figure that out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean,
but I don't think South Carolina has found this magical formula, and all of a sudden they're about to drop 40 a game from this point forward. I still think they have a lot of deficiencies offensively, and defensively they've been suspect all year as well. And I think there's a lot for this Clemson team to exploit. I think they're the better team, and I don't think that. South Carolina is in a position where they can, where they're going to have the same kind of success that they did last week. So, those kind of my initial thoughts. I think South Carolina is, they're coming off of a great win. They're confident, but I don't think they're, they figured, everything out, and they're just a different team now. But we'll get into it more.
Eric Morgan said you'd rather miss the playoffs than pull for your rival. No, not necessarily. That's not really what I'm saying. Well, one, we'll probably talk about at some point in time in this show. Clemson doesn't have a chance to get into the playoffs, especially after the last rankings. And I wasn't sad. Well, not that they don't have a chance, but it's looking.
But nothing that happened today helps. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bleak. For the chances. And, it's not that I don't want Clemson to get into the playoffs or anything like that. It's just I'm never going to actively root for South Carolina. I'm just not going to. Like, I'm not upset that they won. I wasn't sad that they won. I was, I was glad to see, that they won. But actively watching the game and rooting for them, no, I didn't. Do that.
I will say this. When it was clear that the game that Tennessee was not going to come back and win this game, when South Carolina started pouring it on, I was like, hey, just.
Oh no, I was laughing at Tennessee.
Yeah, I was just like, lay it on.
Like at that point, I wanted South Carolina to keep scoring because I thought it just made it more and more funny that they kept scoring on Tennessee.
Especially since Tennessee fans have been talking crazy about
and they were talking crazy, and I think that's part of the reason why everybody was so happy to see South Carolina win.
Yeah,
even some Clemson fans. Not that it did help us. I guess it got a team out of the way in the playoff conversation, but the way that Tennessee fans went from like they've been terrible for like forever, and now they have like one good year and they just lost their minds.
One thing I like to say about Tennessee, though,
so everybody loved to see them get humbled.
Let's go back to our early days with Chad Morrissey. Sometimes this offense that you see Tennessee run, how sustainable for it over time period is. You're going to have to learn how to slow down your offense, because we saw that with UCF along with Clemson. Because remember, one of the reasons why they was happy to get rid of Chad Morrissey, I know he went to SMU as head coach, but the speed of the offense was tiring out the defense. And that's something that they took out when Chad Morrissey left, is how many plays you run, and that's what was going on with Tennessee also. So if you don't, it got to be a good balance, if that makes sense. What I'm saying, so because sometimes people think Tennessee offense is a gimmick, and like you said, if you go back and look at some of the years at Central Florida, they might have won a game, but sometimes they would give up a lot of points also, and they would have wacky plays like that too. So because I like, and that's why I get confused sometimes about these rankings. How can Tennessee blow out LSU, but LSU considered to be one of the better teams? Then South Carolina blows out Tennessee, and like, I know what Mark called it, relevant perseverance or whatever, relativity. I just don't get all of this. I don't see what the standard is.
It's the committee. I don't think Clemson's chances are great. And to Jordan's point, what happened today is not helping us at all. North Carolina losing again, not going to help us. Florida State ends up beating Florida. Maybe that helps us a little bit. But honestly, I think the writing's on the wall. We are ranked behind two-loss teams, including an Alabama that has no chance at winning their division or their conference, and somehow we're still behind them. How many great wins do they have this season?
None, because Ole Miss was their best win, and they were
Texas is probably their best win, and Texas has been
7-4, right?
Texas, is Texas that good? I don't know. It seems they take certain things into account with some things, and then not with other things. Like, some teams that we beat were ranked a lot higher when we beat them. But they, like some of the teams like North Carolina State, dealt with a lot of injuries after we beat them, right?
Syracuse too.
You lose your starting quarterback. Syracuse, same thing, right? They dealt with, like, both those teams dealt with quite a bit of injuries. And I know, look, injuries are injuries. Everybody deals with them in college football. But I think, like, there's something to say about, like, that, right? Like, those teams we played those complete teams, and then they went on to have, some unfortunate injuries. And you're just not the same team, especially when you lose your starting quarterback.
And another point I'd like to bring up.
So I'm not saying Clemson should or shouldn't be in, but I don't see how we're ranked below Alabama. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and everybody
that doesn't make sense to me. So
Robert Griffin III.
But we are, and because we are behind Alabama, I think that shows what the playoff committee thinks of us, and they don't think too highly of us. To be completely honest, if they have us behind a 2-loss Alabama at this point in time in the season.
But my question to them, like RG3 said, what is your metric for making that statement? What my problem is with the committee. No, do I think Clemson is one of the best top 5 teams? No, but you're basing it. I even heard Joe Klatt agree with some of the statements that we're about to make. Like, how do you justify that? I mean, like, there's no justification for how they have these teams ranked right now outside the top one. Because my question is this, Go look at Michigan's strength of schedule, especially with Iowa losing today. What is their best win? Penn State compared to how many teams Clemson beat. And go look at their strength of schedule compared to Clemson. So they lose, and dominoes fall like it possibly could. How can you put Michigan above Clemson? Or, there's a lot of stuff to me, it's more of a committee thing than it is the fact that we don't deserve to be in there. I think the committee is doing a terrible job. Because they said if TCU lose in 2 weeks, TCU, because the way they have luckily won a lot of their games, might be out of it too. I mean, like, wow.
Maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a path there somewhere for us, but we're going to need a lot of help. And at that point, right now this week that doesn't really matter, right? We'll worry about that after rivalry week. Right now, it's about beating South Carolina.
We beat them by 45 points.
Can we beat them by 45 points? Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Will we? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see when we get to our score predictions. But
I won't be predicting a 45-point win.
I will. I'll go 45.
We haven't done that to the bad teams we've played.
You going 45 to nothing, DeAndre?
45 nothing.
Okay. All right. We'll write you in for that. 45 nothing.
Like 1988.
I'm going 45 nothing.
I hear you. Hey, look.
It was 30 last year, right?
That
was the worst team ever, right? 30 nothing last year, right? The worst team ever, right?
Supposedly. Yeah.
Worst team in the last 12 years,
Yeah, worst team in a decade at least.
If
by all metrics, really. 45 nothing. I like it. All right, so since we talked about the South Carolina offense a little bit, right? What do you think? What do you think their path is for this game, right? How are they going to approach it? I know they're getting a lot of praise, probably much more than they should, from the Tennessee win. Not that it wasn't a good win, not that it wasn't a dominant win. We've said all that kind of stuff. So, got you. You dominated Tennessee. But this is a very different defense they're about to face, right? Spencer Rattler's not going to be able to sit back there and kind of just pick apart this Clemson defense. The pass rush is going to be for real on Saturday. The environment's going to be for real. I know it's a noon kickoff, but Clemson Stadium will be packed out. I've been to noon games in Clemson. It's still loud, regardless of whether it's day or nighttime. It's a loud environment. South Carolina's in town. The crowd is going to be rowdy and ready to roll. So, South Carolina's offense against Clemson's defense. What are your guys' opinions? How do you see that going? They ain't putting up 50. I can tell you that.
Low ball.
What?
Huh? What'd you say?
They're not going to put up 63. Excuse me, not 50. 63. That's what they scored, right? 63?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not scoring 63. So, how do you guys see that going? How do you see the matchup between Clemson's offense and South Carolina's or Clemson's defense and South Carolina's offense?
Well, obviously you made the point that Clemson's defense is not Tennessee's defense, and the South Carolina offensive coaching staff, they're not stupid. They know that they're going up against a different animal. So what I think you should expect to see, and they did some of that against Tennessee to kind of negate Tennessee's aggressiveness at some points. I think they're going to do a lot to try and get the ball out to the perimeter. I think they're going to scheme up ways to give Spencer Rattler time. I think you're going to see a lot of rollouts. I think you're going to see a lot of moving pocket stuff. Like I said, you have quick passes to the perimeter, screens, quick outs. And I think they're going to try. I think that's what they're going to do, because Clemson plays a lot of zone. Their corners play a lot of off coverage. And I think if I was South Carolina, I would be doing my best. I'm going to be dinking and dunking, because eventually every defensive coordinator wants to, has that itch to have their corners kind of crawl up and inch up towards the line of scrimmage. And then that's when I would take my shots. So I think you're going to see, I think you're definitely going to see South Carolina try to work their way and dink and dunk down the field. And when Clemson, starts to get more aggressive with their coverage, I think that's when they take shots. I think South Carolina does have some very talented skill position players. Guys like Jaheim Bell, who they're primarily using at running back, but he's a kind of a flex guy. They use him at tight end, wide receiver.
Yeah. They used him at running back because their guys are out, right?
Yeah,
are they still out this week?
Well, that's the question. Marshawn, that is a huge question.
Marshawn Lloyd and
whether Marshawn Lloyd and Christian Beal Smith are healthy,
Beal
but
Smith, yeah.
But regardless, I think you're going to see shots to Bell, Antoine Juice Wells, Jalen Brooks. I'm sure I'm missing Josh Van, who he feels like he's been there forever. So I think they have some really talented skill position guys. I think Clemson's, especially in the secondary, they're going to have to communicate and they're going to have to be physical because they have some guys that can go up and grab some contested catches, as you saw in that Tennessee game. So, but I definitely think that the goal for South Carolina is going to be to try to get Clemson to play more aggressive and then take your shots and see if my man can beat your man. And I think from the Clemson standpoint, I think you're going to have to. I think what they're going to do is, I think you trust your defensive line, your front seven. I think they're going to get pressure. I think South Carolina's offensive line is the weakest part of their offense, and I think that's going to show. So I think the goal should be for Clemson is to be dominant in the trenches, make tackles, please tackle. And if South Carolina does a bunch of quick passes, you got to make sure they don't turn a 4 or 5 yard gain and a 4 or 5 yard game into 15 to 20 yards because that'll kill you. That's what killed Tennessee. So just being sound tackling, let your front four win up front. Definitely send blitzes when send timely blitzes. And I think you should be good. I'm not really. If they have Lloyd, you got to respect the run game as well. But I don't think South Carolina's offensive line is very good. So I think that's a favorable matchup.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get the pressure that we need. You're right. If Lloyd plays, he's obviously he's a good running back, right? So the running game will be more of a threat there. But at the same time, I don't think South Carolina is going to consistently be able to run the ball. And to your point, we're going to have to tackle well. You can't let these dudes get out in space and turn, like you said, a 3, 4, 5 yard slant into, this 30, 40 yard gain. That's where your defense is going to get killed. As long as we do that, as long as we keep the plays in front of us, I don't see South Carolina being able to sustain drives back to back to back the way that they're going to have to and methodically move down the field against this defense. And if our offense shows up and does their job and South Carolina gets behind early, that's just going to allow Wes and this defensive staff to really ramp up the pressure against Spencer Rattler and this offensive line and really start taking some chances if we get a lead early and they start having to rely, more on the pass instead of the run, and kind of become a little bit more one-dimensional when it comes to that. And that'll be bad news for South Carolina if we're able to do that. DeAndre?
I think with these seniors that came back and the ones that's going to be leaving early, I think that defensive line is going to show out, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think we're going to dominate them up front. I think we're going to play a lot of cover too, like you said, to help out with the tackling. But I saw some of the guys that walked down the hill, like Trent Simpson and a couple of those other guys. I really think they're gonna ball out this Saturday, be the last game at Death Valley, and I'm sure they don't want the taste in their mouth of the 40-game winning streak being broke on their watch. So I think they're gonna put it on them, and I think these guys are gonna go out like champs. I think you gotta take that emotional factor, and then they're gonna be more serious about South Carolina than because of the win versus Tennessee. Because they're going to be like, hey, man, we're going to put it on them because we saw what they did last week. So I think you're going to see a great play. But I'm interested in it because I want to see what our secondary is going to do, see the growth of the secondary compared to earlier in the year.
I think if you've been watching Nate Wiggins as the season has progressed, that dude's grown a ton. this season.
Right.
I know he got blasted in that Wake Forest game. We'll probably never forget that one. He'll probably never forget it either. But at the same time, he's grown a ton. Like some of the plays that guy's been making, kind of quietly as the season has gone on, he's gotten a ton better. So yeah, that'll be nice to see how our secondary does. I think they'll hold up just fine. And to your point, DeAndre, our defense has looked pretty motivated since that Notre Dame game, right? Where they got manhandled. They got, they just Notre Dame lined up against Clemson and said, "We are tougher, we're bigger, we're stronger, and we just want it more than you." And they did that night. So, but ever since then, I think our defense has stepped up, and I think you're right. I look for the defensive line to have a big day, the front seven to have a big day, and like I said, I think our secondary has improved quite a bit this season. Quietly,
hey, Jordan.
Improved. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but I think they've quietly improved this season.
Hey, Jordan. Who's the contributor from South Carolina? He hasn't been on in a while, but I know he had said early in the year he thought that South Carolina was going to win. He's a contributor for Mark. Mark hasn't done a lot of shows with him, but
Chris from the Spurs Up show, the Chris Phillips.
Yeah, I haven't seen him lately, but
I think he did. I think he did a video with Mark last week, or not, or actually a couple of days ago. But yeah, I personally, I don't want to. I'll try to be professional, but I have my own personal feelings on that guy. I'm blocked by him on Twitter, by the way.
No way.
But
you hurt his feelings?
I heard his feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's had this game circled. I remember in the offseason he said something that Clemson, South Carolina would have the better quarterback going into that matchup. I don't think that's aged particularly well.
I don't think that's true at all.
He probably feels he's probably, if I were to ask him, he'd double down just because of
just
performance last
week. 6
week,
touchdowns last game. Yeah, Rather's a new man.
But on the whole of the season, DJ has definitely outperformed Spencer Rattler on the season. So
don't worry about them other
And he was, and just before the Tennessee game, he was ready to he had like merchandise for firing Marcus Satterfield, their offensive coordinator, and now he's proclaiming a Clemson victory. So it's just funny how opinions change and how that works, but.
1 week of football can do.
Yeah, I never see him talking a whole lot. Like I said, I haven't seen him. He's just like Carolina Jackpot. I think last year I told Carolina Jackpot that we were going to cover the spread versus them, and I see him put 50 on it. He claimed he never agreed to it, but it's on one of his shorts that he did agree to it. So they all the same, man. They talk all this noise and they lose. I mean, I love Carolina Jackpot because he's funny as heck. But
yeah, I love Jackpot though because he's not a idiot. Oh, Hunter Gopher, who's Jordan talking about? Yeah, I don't want to give that guy any more free publicity. You've probably, if you're on Twitter or at all or social media.
He's the only South Carolina fan outside of Carolina Jackpot.
Yeah. I don't want to give him any more free publicity.
Yeah.
I get a lot of heat from, like I said, my uncles played down at Clemson in the 80s, but I have family members that live in Florence, and they give us a hard time about South Carolina and Clemson because of Clemson history. If you know anything about Clemson's history, it's not a very good one when it comes to race relations. And but they give us a hard time about that. But I have never liked South Carolina from their colors and everything, from their colors of their uniform. And I just don't know what a Gamecock is. I mean, what in the world? I hate when I hear people call it Carolina. Like, people here like they're from South Carolina, call it Carolina. Carolina's in Chapel Hill, and the only Southern Cal.
Carolina's in Chapel Hill.
USC's
in Southern Cal.
Dabo stole it from me.
Yeah.
I said that a long time ago. A lot of people used to say that, and it's like I I mean, okay, they got a baseball championship. So does Vanderbilt and Virginia. So I mean, Coastal Carolina, don't they got one too? I just don't have a lot of respect. I mean, Deuce Staley's done a great job with their girls basketball team, but other than that, when it comes to football, I just can't say anything positive about them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see this game being close. 14 points. I tell you, I already put the bet in. I already took the 14 points.
I don't blame you. I definitely think we cover. And
I think Clemson's also, if I'm not mistaken, LSU got beat by Florida State. Wake Forest got beat by Vanderbilt. What was the other SEC matchup this year?
Wake Forest beat Vanderbilt.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Wake Forest beat Vanderbilt and Florida State beat LSU. So are we currently 2-0 versus the SEC?
No, Miami lost to Texas A&M.
Okay, so it's 2-1.
I'm trying to think of the other one. I think we're 2-2. I'm trying to think of the other one. Ole Miss beat Georgia Tech. That's what it was.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's 2-2. But
yeah,
I just like I look at the Big Ten West. Everybody say, "Oh, the ACC Coastal is the worst division." I'm like, have you seen the? I'm like, can anybody in Big Ten West score? I'm like, that's probably the worst division to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't see how we always consider to be the worst out of everything.
That's right. That's right. Big Mick. Pitt lost to Tennessee as well. That's true. So I think the ACC is 2-3.
Yeah, and they needed overtime to do that. There was a Pitt team that's not that good. Coming off a Westover game. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was overtime. Pitt was on their backup quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. It's like you can't really just take every game by game. I mean, you got to look at the whole body of work, and that's why I have an issue with. But,
yeah.
It is what it is.
I thought that was a catch.
Yeah, but this game right here though, I just think Clemson is going to dominate. I think they're going to dominate from jump. And also, I want to see what DJ is going to do. Because the reason why I bring it up about DJ is he going to leave after this year? And the reason why I say that he shouldn't leave.
He's been asked, and he always answers the question with the only thing he's thinking about is winning games right now. He's not going to entertain the idea. He's not going to think about it until he's done playing this season. So I don't think you're going to get anything out of him when it comes to that.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that up, because everybody talk about how bad he's looked sometimes. Have y'all seen Michigan's quarterback play? Michigan's going to get smoked when they get in the playoff. I watched them get to the doors. I'm like, y'all talk about DJ, but this dude's if it wasn't for that running back, I mean, I really.
Well, I tell you one of the other things that, he's been playing a lot better. And I'll tell you one of the other things is South Carolina's defense. I mean, what are they going to do to stop our running game? Honestly, they're not very good at stopping the run.
Right.
They're ranked 85th nationally. They're ranked 110th nationally against the run. Giving up 188 yards a game, over 200 and something yards on the road. Against the run this season, that's not good. That's not going to bode well when we got a Will Shipley, a Phil Maffa, and a healthy Kobe Pace in the backfield ready to rotate through whenever at all possible. And then you got DJ that, he's not the normal quarterback run type guy, but he'll stick his neck out there and he'll get the tough yards when necessary. So I think they're going to have a problem with this Clemson offense as well. And we can pick our spots, more so in the passing game and not have to rely on that so much, because I think we will be able to run the ball if we want to and as often as we want to. I really do. And if you can control a game like that, it's really hard.
Collins is going to be back
really hard
too.
To beat a team.
Yep.
And Bo Collins will be back too, won't he?
Yeah, Bo Collins is supposed to be back. You got Antonio Williams out there. I know Dabo was talking about Adam Randall this week. He said he broke a bone in his hand, but he's still going to be able to play. It's like the top of his hand, so he said they'll pad it up and he'll be a go as well. So
why were they so big on Turner playing, Jordan? I mean, I follow recruiting services like crazy, and I never understood why
he's good. Just from an athletic, I think he adds that shifty. He adds that shifty slot. He's that shifty slot type. They're really high on him. They say he's one of the fastest guys on the team, which I kind of believe, considering how fast Nolan Turner turned out to be. He ran a 4.4 at his pro day. So the staff is really high on him. The reason you hadn't seen him much before the Miami game is because they wanted to preserve his red shirt. So I think
holding him.
I think you're going to see more of him, going forward. I don't think he's like going to start or anything, but definitely, I think you'll definitely see him out there because now Clemson can play him as much as they want going forward, and he can preserve his red shirt. But the staff is really high on him. And he just adds another. And he had that really nice catch in that Miami game. I thought he ran a really beautiful route.
He had that one on the sideline, right?
Yeah, that sideline catch, that little out, and it was like
really a 3rd and 10 play. That was a huge play.
Yeah, and it was smooth. So I mean, we've seen him in limited action, but he looked good when he was out there. So
he looks
I'm
good.
really intrigued.
Yeah, the coaching staff's high on him. And, if he's one of those quick twitch, shifty guys and you throw him in here late in the season, he could kind of be a dude that can, provide somewhat of a spark, in certain packages.
I'm kind of
interested for him, or, I'm excited to see him play. I think they held him out to the end of the season for a reason. One, they wanted, like Jordan said, preserve his red shirt, but they could have played him in any 4 games. I think them holding him to later on in the season, they think, for whatever reason, the coaching staff thinks that he can help them late in the season. So I think, that's encouraging that they think that. I mean, we'll see what he does out on the field. That's the only thing that really matters. But the fact that they held him to the end of the season, I think shows that they truly do believe that he can provide something for this team late in the season when we need it.
Jordan Stoller, the kid out of Florida, the number 1 slot receiver. I know he's been hurt the last 2 years, but do you think he'll transfer?
Wait, who?
Stoller. I can't pronounce his name. Stelloo.
Oh, Stellato. Oh, Troy
Stellato. Yeah, Troy Stellato. Yeah, he got hurt again this season.
Well, yeah,
he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's what I'm
well, he's
saying.
He's not playing this year, but I mean, he could. I don't know. I still had. I mean, I really liked him coming out. I thought he was gonna add a lot of speed, but he's just really behind right now because he came in as a freshman and got hurt, and when he came back and he was behind in fall camp and got hurt there, and he hasn't really been able to get on the field. So, I mean, he definitely is a candidate, I think, because there's a lot of guys in his position at the slot at this point. I mean, you still have obviously you're going to have Antonio Williams, you have Cole Turner working in now. Will Taylor is still they're still trying to work Will Taylor in there. So he's not really very high up in the depth chart right now as far as slot receivers go.
What I've been looking for out of Clemson, and when I watch Ohio State play, and I know they have some receiver problems too. However, what I would like to point out is that I'm looking for speed on the field, and with his I don't know what he's going to take over, Cade, but he seems more like a quick, tight pass guy, more rollouts than the deep ball. So it's Clemson building for more of what we saw with Alabama with Tua and Matt Jones, where they get the ball out faster instead of holding the ball and let somebody throw it down the field. So that's what I'm interested in, far as the direction of the offense is going. I know we're supposed to be talking about South Carolina, but I'll be honest with you, they're whack. But I mean, I just that's why I'm asking. I don't have any respect for that school. far as football goes. That's why I'm asking.
The hate goes deep. I like.
I mean, we got to
The
at
hate
least
goes
finish
deep.
the preview. I mean, we haven't even really talked about the offense against Carolina's defense yet.
Yeah, that's what I was. We can get into is
Who?
the our offense, and that's that's why I was talking about South Carolina's defense against our offense. I don't really know how they're going to stop us for the most part. They're not real good at stopping the run. You know, we've been pretty good at consistently running the ball this season. When we don't completely forget about it and get away from it for whatever reason, because that tends to happen at Clemson sometimes. But you got Will Shipley, you got Phil Maffa, you got Kobe Pace that's finally healthy. Glad to see him get out there last week and finally get some touches. He made that really tough tough catch, excuse me, against Miami last week. That shoestring catch that DJ gave him that luckily he caught. Going into the red zone and almost put it in the end zone. But I really do think we're going to be able to run the ball effectively against the South Carolina defense. What do you think our game plan will be going in, Jordan?
Run the
Yeah,
ball.
it should be the same game script as but last year, I think. But
Yeah.
but with the added benefit of actually having at least a capable passing offense. I mean,
well, yeah, and I think we
go
got
back,
some dudes that could break loose, right?
right. Well, I mean,
we got some.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to last season, and at that point in the season, Clemson's wide receiver room was completely decimated. You're starting.
We didn't have anybody.
You're starting Will Sweeney in the slot. You're.
Oh man, that was a
your
time.
top
What
two
a time to be
receivers
alive.
your top two receivers are Bo and Dakari Collins out there. Yeah, it was just a mash unit.
Yeah, two true freshmen.
Yeah,
and the coach's son, a walk on.
Yep. So.
Or a walk on, and two true freshmen. That's what we trotted out there as our starting receiving core last year.
Yeah, so I think DJ had like a 99 passing yards in that game. So it was a rough looks, but I do think the game script should be very similar to last year with the added benefit of passing. I think the South Carolina defense has not shown they can stop the run at any point this season. I believe they're in the hundreds in rush defense.
Yep. Yeah,
I think
they're 118.
Okay, 180. So yeah, they're bad. And
they give up 254 yards on the road. Is their average on the road.
Yeah, gosh.
On the ground. So
yeah,
you coming into Death Valley with our rushing game? It's not looking too good, Gamecock man.
Right. So
Tate gonna play?
No, he's out for the year.
Okay.
So, but which I was going to mention. So, but I think you got to assert your dominance on the offensive line, even without Marcus Tate. I believe Mitchell Mays is starting. Will start at left guard in his place.
Yeah, he's starting in the place. Yeah.
So, and he looked good when he came in for Walker Parks. A couple games ago. So I think that should be the. I think that should be the move. I think I don't expect a huge drop off there. So yeah, running the ball, asserting your dominance. I don't think the South Carolina I think the South Carolina's defensive line is okay, but I really think their linebackers are very, very poor. So I think if you get good push up front and South Carolina, Clemson's running backs get to the second level, I think there's a lot of opportunity to make big plays. I think their linebackers are very, very, I can't emphasize this enough. And just watching them on film, South Carolina's linebackers are not very good. And they've had some injuries at that spot early in the year. They're missing a couple of their better guys, but that's all the more reason why you need to attack them. Because I think they are very solid in the secondary. So pick your spots in the passing game, but I definitely that's the one matchup against Clemson's wide receivers who've been better than they were last year, but still still not amazing. Outside of one or two guys.
They're not great by any means. But that's the beauty of the matchup coming into it, right? So, they can't stop the run. We're really good at running the ball, at least when we really commit to it and kind of commit to it as a team. We did have the injury to Tate, so that's a little bothersome, but I think we'll step up and replace him just fine. And the beauty of it is with our ability to run the ball and their inability to stop it, we truly will be able to really pick our spots when it comes to the passing game. I'd like to see some seam routes by those tight ends, maybe some crossing routes by Antonio, stuff like that, to really test that linebacking core that you're talking about, and see if they're capable of hanging with those dudes, which we all know they're not. So
yeah.
You get Davis Allen out there, Brendan Stool out there, Antonio Williams on some crossing routes.
Yeah, don't forget the tight ends. Yeah, please
don't forget the tight ends.
They're good.
Don't forget them.
They're
And then I would like to see a downfield shot or two.
Absolutely, yeah. You still got to take your shots.
Yeah, you got to take your shots. Maybe one or two to Bo. Maybe give Randall a chance downfield as well. But we'll see how it goes. DeAndre?
Yeah, I agree with y'all. I want to see how it's going to go. My main problem with this matchup is that I just want to see them whoop South Carolina. Not even because of South Carolina, it's because of the SEC.
You want to see
I just want to see the. I just want to see
Dabo no mercy.
Yeah,
scoring to the end.
Yeah,
he did against Miami, right? He didn't show any mercy.
Yeah, I think what was it, 30-0, 30-3. I think we had a 56. I forgot Tommy Boughton beat him 63-17.
63-17.
Yeah. 63-17.
Yeah. Charlie White.
Deshaun Watson's senior year. Oh, what was Deshaun Watson's senior year? Was that another 56-7?
56-7.
56-7.
And then
that was that Mike Williams game where he was carrying dudes on his back into the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you remember that.
That was massive.
Charlie Whitehurst is still the only quarterback to go 4-0 in the rivalry. So
hey, there you go.
Got to show some.
Mike Williams was manhandling their DBs in that game. It was a thing of beauty to watch.
16, yeah.
Donald Williams must have lost to him his freshman year then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fellas, I love talking to y'all, but I got to go.
All right, DeAndre.
Hey, be safe at work.
All right.
And take some time off, brother.
Thank y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
All
right, we'll see you, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Later, DeAndre. Man,
all right, bro.
I don't know if y'all just saw that Jordan Travis touchdown. He took a shot. Whoa, all right, I got to see that again.
What happened?
Jordan Travis. Ooh. He might have started his slide. That might come back. Yeah, I think James Scott. I think he slid.
Tied up right now, 24-24.
Yeah. Jordan Travis is nuts. He slid in, so they might rule him short at the 1-inch line.
Oh no! Why'd he slide in? I'm not watching it, so I don't. Should have.
He was trying to. He's probably not intending the slide, but he was just trying to avoid the hit.
Yeah.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, he took a shot on the head. But where were we?
Yeah, we were talking about Clemson's offense and Carolina's defense. I think we, talked pretty much about that. I think it's clear Clemson's game plan going in. We're going to run the ball early and often and then take our shots in the passing game. I think their defense is going to be on the field, majority of the game. And like I said, as we start building a lead, I think you'll start to see those 3 and outs start pouring in for our defense. We've produced. I don't know if you've been looking at the stats lately, but we've been producing a ton of tackles for losses on our defense the past 2 games. I think we got like 16 tackles for loss in the past 2 games.
11 sacks, like 16 tackles for loss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. Our defense has played really well. It's unfortunate that it took that Notre Dame game to, I guess, wake those guys up. I don't know why they couldn't get it together before that. That's really unfortunate because, We could have been playing like this all season and should have been. And that's the frustrating part, right? Is we were clearly capable of playing like this, but we just weren't. We just weren't playing like this. So, so special teams. Let's set up special teams a little bit. Not if. Excuse me. What am I talking about? When we get out of here with a win, BT Potter will leave Clemson as undefeated as a kicker for us against the Gamecocks. So, shout out BT Potter. He helped us win a lot of games last season. So, our offense wasn't getting it done. But yeah, shout out to BT Potter and the special teams. One of the things we didn't talk about yet, Jordan, that I think we need to mention is our little turnover problem that we've been having the past, I don't know, what is it now, 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, since the Syracuse game. So
really,
that's when it's really started just being a problem.
I mean, we put the ball on the ground 5 times again last week.
Yep.
Only lost 3 of them, but put the ball on the ground 5 times. We talked about it a lot in the post-game reaction, and I don't really know what we do to clean that up. But that's one of the things in a game like this, in a rivalry game, right, where both teams clearly, want to win the game. There's a lot of juice coming in from the fan bases because it's an in-state rivalry. That type of stuff can cause a game like this that I think shouldn't be close and possibly lose if you start turning the ball over.
Yeah, it's been a recurring theme the past 4 or 5 weeks, and it's just little stuff, and it's not nothing fluky. It's just guys not securing the football. DJ making just poor decisions at times. With interceptions and. Will Shipley fumbling the ball. Davis Allen had a fumble. Davis Allen never makes a mistake, and he coughed it up last week. Definitely something that we need to see clean up, because South Carolina, for all their flaws this season, they have been very opportunistic when it comes to forcing turnovers. We didn't really delve deep into their special teams, but their special teams makes plays. They've blocked some punts and stuff. So taking care of the football and not giving, South Carolina extra possessions, I think is going to be key, because you can't do that, because when they do force turnovers, that's something that they do take advantage of pretty well, and they've forced a lot of turnovers this year. So you can't afford to be loose with the football, and so I definitely think that's the biggest thing for this offense, because I think they match up well against South Carolina's defense. Other than that, I think Clemson's worst enemy in this game could possibly be themselves. And so just being disciplined, taking care of the football, being secure, not doing it, and just making smart decisions with the football. And we've been saying it. You got to go out and do it. I mean, they know it. Dabo has addressed it multiple times. You can tell he wants to pull his hair out with the turnovers. So
every time he's asked about it from a reporter too, he's just like, I don't know. Like we're coaching the fundamentals. A good week like this, and we go out there and we put the ball on the ground, and I don't really think we have an answer for it. It's just something, I guess we got to play through and, hope it's, we shake that turnover bug that we've been carrying around for the past 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it is now. But yeah, that's you always hear the coach speak, right? That, coaches say, we play Clemson every week, that's who we're playing. But really it's kind of true this week. I don't see a path outside of Clemson turning the ball over a ton for South Carolina to really make this a game. Because I don't it's a poor matchup for them. It's just not a favorable matchup. What we do well, they can't stop. And their offense, although they exploded last week and had an amazing game, and they beat a top 4, Tennessee team that was, flying high heading into the playoffs. That's not the Clemson defense they're about to see Saturday. So it's going to be a completely different ball game, and what worked against Tennessee is not going to work against Clemson. So we'll see what kind of game plan they come in with, and we'll see if it works. I see a lot of talk of Venables in the chat right now. Venables is a great defense play caller for you, best in the country. Yeah, look, Venables was great, but Wes Goodwin is a good defensive coordinator, right? He's learning quickly. Like I said, we weren't playing to our potential for most of the season. We took a loss for whatever reason. That apparently woke up our defense, and we're going from there. But I don't think nobody in Clemson, no, if anybody's being honest, nobody in Clemson wanted Venables to leave ever. We would have been happy. I think all of us would have been happy if he would have decided to be a lifelong defensive coordinator, right? We wouldn't have been upset about that at all. But now that he's gone and, Wes Goodwin's got pretty much a season under his belt, I think so far Wes Goodwin's doing, he's doing okay. He's doing a good job, I think. So, no Clemson fan, if they're being honest, would say we wouldn't like to have Brent Venables, for the rest of his career. But
Yeah.
I think Wes has come in and done a really good job. I really do. I think he's learning. It's not easy. It's easy looking from the sideline and being like, "Oh yeah, I could run that defense. I could call these plays." And then you get in it and everybody's looking to you to make the play calls. It's a little bit different ball game. So I think he's learned some lessons this season, and he's doing good in my opinion. He's been a good play caller.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Wes is, I think we had really high expectations for him. The talk around him was, he had very high praise from the coaching staff, from past employers, including one Bruce Arians in the NFL. So
Right.
definitely he came in with some high expectations, maybe a little too high for a guy that, at the end of the day, it's still his first time being the guy, calling the plays. But I think he's done a very admirable job, and he's definitely learned a lot. And I see improvement, just from the beginning of the season to now, and especially in the last couple of weeks. I think he's gotten more comfortable with his players and calling plays and how to coach them up and hold them accountable. And the Notre Dame game wasn't great, but I think it definitely taught him some things and definitely allowed him to grow a lot more. So I feel good, with Wes so far. I'm definitely not out on him, and I'm definitely seeing improvement. So I think we can, and I think he's done a good job on the recruiting trail, so that doesn't hurt either. He's brought in some really talented players. I'm really excited about what he does with them and does with it, because right now he's working with a lot of guys that Venables for the most part developed, but so we get to see what he does with his own talent. So, and he's certainly done a good job of bringing in some dudes. So I'm really excited about the future of Clemson's defense.
It's going to be, sorry, I have my mic muted there. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, he is recruiting well. So that's kind of always your question, right? When you get a new coach that's going to kind of run things is, are you going to see any type of dip in recruiting? And that hasn't been the case so far. And hopefully that continues, because as we know, first and foremost, it starts with recruiting in college football. You got to have the players to execute your plan. You could be the smartest and greatest, coach and game planner and play caller and all that stuff all you want, but it all starts with talent. It all starts with the players.
Absolutely. You ready to get into score predictions? Because I gotta.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's get a score prediction going, and then we can hop up out of here, right? All right, Jordan. So DeAndre, let's remind everybody of what DeAndre said before he popped off here and had to go to his real job. Uh, he said, we are going to once again blank the Gamecocks, and we are going to win 45-0. That was DeAndre's score, 45-0. Jordan, what say you, my friend?
Yeah, I am not predicting that. I'm going to go a little bit. I'm definitely going a little bit more conservative because I do think South Carolina's offense is in spots better than it was last year, and I don't think Clemson's defense is quite as good as it was last year.
Right.
So, but I do think this is a very convincing Clemson win. I predicted 35-10 back on College Football After Dark on the main Mark Rogers Voice of College Football channel. I think I'm going to stick. I'm thinking about sticking with it, but yeah, I'll stick with 35-10. I was going to go lower or more conservative and say like 33-17. I'm kind of feeling more that now, but I already called my shot. So 35-10, I think Clemson wins in convincing fashion. I think the defensive line and linebackers eat. I think the secondary holds up well, and it's going to be a long day for Spencer Rattler.
All right, 35-10. So you think Clemson will cover the 14.5 point spread that we come in with? It's a 53-point over/under for the game. If anybody was curious, I'm going to go with, this score prediction treated me so well last week, so I'm going to recycle it. I'm going 41-10. I'm going 41-10. Treated me so well last week, and it was only 1 point off. So we'll see how it goes again. Week number 2, 41-10 is what I'll say. I don't think this game's ever really going to be in doubt. I think Clemson's going to be able to control the game from start to finish. And I think as long as we don't see stretches like we did in the Miami game, as dominant as the Miami win was, as long as we don't see stretches of like we did in the third quarter, I think Clemson will cruise to a very comfortable victory. And I hope our offense and our defense and our entire coaching staff and the players, no matter how crazy out of hand this game gets, if it gets that way, we do not take our foot off the gas. We do not let up. We do not give away garbage touchdowns and start playing prevent defense or, terrible, terrible offense where we don't even look like we're trying to move the ball anymore. I want to see us throttle down through the whole game from start to finish. Let's see some score predictions we got in the chat here, Jordan. Our GoFro says 38-17.
Uh-oh, there goes little ETN.
ETN?
Yeah, he just had a big run.
That dude looks just like Travis when he runs.
He runs just like his brother.
Just like Travis when he runs. 34-24. All right. 48-21. What's up with all these points South Carolina's putting up? 34-24. I don't like that. 10-point victory? That's not good enough.
Yeah, I'd like to cover.
12-52.
We haven't. I would be surprised if we scored. I mean, we haven't been able to score.
Half 100?
Yeah, against any Power 5. We scored 50 on Wake Forest in overtime, but other than that.
Yeah. 38-10, says John Sarian. Yeah, so that's kind of our thoughts on the games, guys, or on this game. We don't particularly see in the game be very close, barring, a complete meltdown by Clemson in the turnover department. And, unless we come into the game and forget that, we can run the ball. Cade will get 14. We might see some Cade in this game if it gets out of hand. we might see some Cade in this game. Got a 34-13. Cade getting some time in the fourth quarter. All right, so a couple people in here saying Cade will get in. You think we'll see any of Cade in this game?
I hope so.
Yeah,
he does need the experience, but
he does. They better let him throw the ball. If they put him in this week, let him throw the ball.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm not expecting much. I'm looking, with Cade, I'm just looking towards next season and what the next step in what his development is in a full off season.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But I'll just like some game experience.
I
let him get out there and run the offense.
But
call it like you would if.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm not, and I agree. I want to see him out there, but at this point, it's the same song and dance every week. It's like, why didn't Cade get, why can't we get Cade on the field? And I'm just, at this point, I'm stopping.
We got to get Cade some more opportunities. Yeah,
it's
okay.
It's a broken record.
You're in charge of the opportunities, right? Like, what are we doing here? But
and to be fair, it doesn't seem like Dabo was. I don't think Dabo was happy with how many opportunities Cade has gotten, but
I don't think he is either.
So,
but that's one of the problems that we've talked about on this show all season, right? Is that we have failed to put teams away, and the fact that we can't put teams away, or we haven't, for a big portion of the season, we can't put teams away, and Cade doesn't get those reps at the end of the game like he normally would, and that's the problem. Todd gets in and says USC plays better as an underdog. They better hope so. They haven't for 7 years, so we'll see. They better hope they play well as an underdog, though.
All right, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you read some comments. I gotta hop off. of here. Phone's about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about to hop off as well. Jordan, thank you for joining me. Look forward to seeing you for the post-game reaction, and hopefully we have a lot of good things to talk about. Hopefully we are not irritated in any way. Hopefully it's all good stuff. But thanks again for stopping by, man. Hey, you guys follow Jordan on Twitter. Jordan, what's your Twitter handle?
It's I'm on mobile, so I can't necessarily type
you can't drop it in. Okay.
But it's at Jobo0209, Jobo 0209 on Twitter. So if you want just another Clemson fan to follow, I tweet all the time about Clemson, and I complain, whine, and moan just like the rest of you. So it's and celebrate as well, because I definitely will celebrate the good times.
All of the above, right? All of the above.
So other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always a lot of fun doing these shows. This is the last game of the regular season. It's hard to believe we're already here. But it's definitely been a very, very enjoyable ride. Clemson is 10-1, hopefully 11-1 by 3 o'clock tomorrow. 3 o'clock, yeah. So
3 o'clock.
Looking forward to that game. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year.
Always.
So hope you guys enjoyed it. A happy belated Thanksgiving to all of you guys. Hope you guys Jordan. Hope all of you watching had a fun time with family, friends, and just an enjoyable time overall. But thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.
All right, Jordan. Enjoy some family time, and we'll see you tomorrow, man.
All right, man.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jordan Bowman signing off. Again, thank you guys for joining us here for this preview video on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. We really do appreciate it. Hope everybody out there had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you're continuing to have a good long weekend. If you are afforded that ability to have a long weekend, enjoy your time with family. And we look forward to watching our Tigers once again beat the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Shamecocks, if you will. Tomorrow, actually. I was going to say this Saturday, but tomorrow at high noon in Death Valley. Todd gets in and says, "Go game, go Cox." Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. We always welcome the other fan bases that we're talking about in our previews. Yeah, your money's on Clemson. Yeah, everybody's money's probably on Clemson. But again, I appreciate you showing up to a Clemson channel and talking with us. It's much appreciated. Hope you'll stop by for the live post game reaction. It's immediately following the game. But shout out to everybody who's still in here. John Sarian, Hunter GoFro, Pritz Blake's in here. Todd's still in here. WB2DX is still in here. Thank you, Hunter GoFro. Yep, Bible Belt Beauties. Hey, thank you all for stopping by. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we will see you tomorrow, probably around 3 p.m., 3:30, depending on the game. But we will start a live post-game reaction show immediately following the game. It'll be myself, it'll be Jordan, and hopefully DeAndre can stop by as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy it.